In an age where social connections often define a person's worth, where status is measured by the number of followers, likes, and invitations, the notion of finding strength in solitude may seem foreign, even unsettling. Yet for the Stoic, this is where true security lies. The Stoic ideal teaches us that the deepest and most reliable form of strength comes from within, one that is not dependent on the approval or company of others. In a world that promotes social validation, the Stoic man finds his peace in silence, his stability in solitude, and his value not in the noise of the crowd, but in the quietude of his inner world. While others are bound by the fleeting nature of friendships, the Stoic chooses a different path. His sense of worth is not measured by the number of friends he has, nor by the praise he receives from others. Rather, it is rooted in the firm foundation of self-understanding, in knowing his own mind and the nature of his soul. The Stoics' view on friendship and security. Stoicism, the philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium, emphasizes that virtue, wisdom, and inner peace are the ultimate sources of fulfillment. For the Stoic, friendships are not inherently bad, but they are not the cornerstone of a good life. They are instead something to be approached with wisdom and discernment. A person who needs the constant validation of others, who defines his worth by the presence of others in his life, will find himself at the mercy of the shifting tides of external approval. In contrast, a man who requires no external validation, a man with a very small circle or even none at all, is a person who has discovered the true meaning of self-reliance. His strength lies not in his social standing, but in his inner peace. He is secure because he has learned to value his own company, to cultivate a strong sense of self that does not depend on the whims of the world. This security is not a form of isolation or loneliness. Rather, it is a form of freedom, one that allows him to act according to his principles without the distractions or pressures that often come with social life. The nature of true strength, inner peace, over external validation. To understand why the Stoic holds this viewpoint, we must first delve into the Stoic concept of inner peace. For the Stoic, peace comes not from external circumstances, but from the cultivation of an unshakable mind. Epictetus, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, famously stated, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them." This means that external events, such as the presence or absence of friends, cannot disturb us unless we allow them to. The true cause of disturbance lies within ourselves, in our perceptions, our expectations, and our attachments. A person who seeks external validation, whether through friendships, accolades, or social recognition, is constantly vulnerable to the fluctuations of fortune. They are like a ship tossed upon the waves, swayed by every change in the wind. In contrast, a man who has cultivated a secure inner world is like a rock in the ocean, unmoved by the waves. His sense of self-worth is not contingent upon the opinions of others. He does not need to surround himself with people to feel validated. His validation comes from his own understanding of his life and his choices. In many ways, this philosophy can be difficult for modern individuals to embrace. We live in a world that celebrates social connection and often equates success with the number of friends or followers one has. Social media, for instance, reinforces the idea that the more people you know, the more valuable you are. However, this is a fleeting and shallow form of validation. The Stoic teaches us that true value comes from living in accordance with virtue, not from the external validation of others. The power of solitude, a journey of self-discovery. In Stoic philosophy, solitude is not seen as loneliness, but as an opportunity for self-discovery. Marking a departure from conventional thinking, the Stoic embraces solitude as a space to reflect, to grow, and to understand the workings of the mind. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered practitioners, wrote in his Meditations that nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul. True strength does not come from the number of friends or accolades one accumulates, but from the ability to be at peace with oneself. In solitude, a man can confront his innermost thoughts, his fears and his desires without the interference of others. This inner work is essential for cultivating the wisdom and self-discipline that are the hallmarks of Stoic virtue. The man who is comfortable in solitude has learned to navigate his mind and emotions, and in doing so, he has unlocked a profound source of strength that is impervious to external circumstances. The example of Nikola Tesla, a man of solitude and strength. The life of Nikola Tesla offers a real-world example of how one can embrace solitude and transform the world. Tesla, one of the greatest inventors of the modern era, lived much of his life in isolation. He had few close friends, and his work was often marked by long periods of solitary contemplation. Yet his contributions to science and technology reshaped the world. Tesla was not swayed by the opinions of others or by the desire for social recognition. He was deeply focused on his work, his ideas, and his vision for the future. While many of his contemporaries sought fame and fortune, Tesla sought knowledge and understanding. He was at peace with his own solitude, and this allowed him to pursue his work without distraction. Tesla's life exemplifies the Stoic ideal of focusing on one's purpose rather than seeking validation from others. His strength came from his ability to immerse himself in his work and to remain true to his own principles. His example teaches us that solitude can be a powerful tool for personal growth and transformation. The Stoics' response to the fear of loneliness. One of the common fears that many people have is the fear of loneliness. The idea of being alone, without friends or social connections, can feel overwhelming and even depressing. However, for the Stoic, loneliness is not something to be feared but something to be embraced. It is in solitude that we truly come to know ourselves, to confront our weaknesses, and to cultivate our strengths. When we are alone, we are free from the distractions and judgments of others. We can focus on our own thoughts, our own values, and our own growth. The Stoic understands that true happiness and fulfillment come not from the approval of others, but from within. In solitude, we are given the opportunity to turn inward and reflect on what truly matters. The fear of being alone often arises from an attachment to the external world, the belief that we need others to validate our worth. But the Stoic teaches us that our worth is not determined by the number of friends we have or the applause we receive. Our worth is intrinsic, and it is based on our character, our actions, and our ability to live in accordance with virtue. The real strength of solitude, freedom and self-mastery. In Stoic thought, the ultimate goal is freedom. Freedom from external circumstances, freedom from the opinions of others, and freedom from our own destructive desires and attachments. A man who is not dependent on social connections for validation is truly free. He is free to pursue his own path, to live according to his principles, and to cultivate the virtues that lead to a flourishing life. Self-mastery is another key element of Stoic philosophy. The Stoic man seeks to master his own desires, emotions, and actions. This mastery is not achieved by avoiding others, but by learning to act in accordance with reason, regardless of external influences. A person who is not swayed by the opinions of others is able to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. He does not need to seek validation from his friends or society. He finds his strength in his own character and his own decisions. Conclusion. Embrace the power of solitude. This is not to say that friendship is unimportant in the Stoic worldview. Friendship, when cultivated with wisdom and virtue, can be a valuable part of life. However, the Stoic teaches us that we must not let our worth be defined by others. We must learn to find peace and strength within ourselves, regardless of how many people are around us. So, are you ready to embrace solitude and discover the strength within yourself? The path to true freedom begins with the understanding that your value is not determined by the number of friends you have or the praise you receive from others. It is determined by your ability to live with integrity, to master yourself, and to find peace in the quiet moments of solitude. The Stoic invites you to walk this path, knowing that in doing so, you will find a